So,
Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions on a Thursday, 4 p.m. BST. Today we're going to do an in-depth. We have Mina, Elias with us. He was on the show a little while ago on the PPC Roundtable. Before we get started, I'm going to share to the groups. Do you want to let people know what you've been up to this week or so, and before we get into your story?
yeah, so actually this week I've been focusing more on PPC, and so I just created a little spreadsheet, a tool that I'm actually going to be releasing in a bit. But basically, it takes the campaign creation from however long it usually takes to create it. Even if you're doing it in bulk sheets, it still takes a bit, to filling out like a column in Excel and then clicking a button, and it spits out a spreadsheet they can upload to Amazon right away. So like significantly cutting down the time that it takes for me to create campaigns. And then I'm also building out like a launch based on my personal launch strategy, like a launch campaign. So I just, again, fill out a few columns, click a button, and then everything is filled out, ready to upload. Just, trying to get the times down for everything.
Excellent. And what else has been happening? How's COVID been treating you?
COVID has been treating me like it doesn't exist because everything is fine out here in California. Actually having a little bit of a meetup later today. A few of your friends are going to be here, so I won't mention any names. So for the judgy people that say, "Oh, you guys should not be hanging out during COVID," but
I think I know two of them.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Well, you know, the third one, you'll see. But
I'll probably know the third. But no doubt there'll be some photos at some point. So even though you keep it under wraps, are you gonna warn them, say like no cameras today because they get judgy, or
nah, whatever. I personally don't care. Yeah,
no,
I don't care.
Let people do their thing.
There's gonna be alcohol involved, so I can't see the cameras going away.
Yeah. No, but I think it's a funny one, right? So just before we get into it, I come from the music industry, right? So whenever we're out doing events and that, and we're doing late nights, after parties, all that kind of stuff, I always say to people, no cameras, because the last thing I want to see is me gurning back on the next day, because they might seem all right in that light, but no, I don't think it's a good look. It's like, if you're going to do pictures, do them in the like daytime environment. But I think, imagine Vegas, 4:00 in the morning. Could you imagine some of those pictures? That's not gonna be a good look.
I've been there, so I know.
Right. Let's get into it. Let's take it way back. So we're going to do an in-depth on you. Awesome. Childhood, earliest memories. Let's talk about entrepreneurship. Were you very entrepreneurial back then, or has it come later?
No, it came very, very, actually it didn't come. I feel like it just came all at once, but there's some signs here and there. So childhood, I was born in Egypt, and when I was 2 years old, my dad got a really good job in Dubai. He was in the medical sales industry, so huge money there. Got into it, and this was before Dubai was a thing, before Abu Dhabi was a thing, and it was not fully developed, and so we got there early, and it just seemed like almost like a little piece of heaven, because everything was clean. It was just like they were building it from the ground up. You didn't have all the skyscrapers, all that stuff, but you had nice buildings and everything was nice. And it was a very, very nice life. And, I was kind of a little bit spoiled back then. I still, like, one of my earliest memories, and one of the things that I always like think back and I cringe, is I remember like going to the store, and the toys were like $15 a toy or something. It was like the Power Rangers toys, like the good ones. And my dad's like, all right, like, do you want one? And I would like take 5 or 6, and he would be like, no, like, it's expensive. Like, we or only get you 1 or 2. And then I would like complain and whine. And I just like would always think back about this and feel like, man, if I was my dad, I would have smacked me.
Exactly. That's entitlement. But the thing is, like, I have to teach that with my daughter as well. It's like there has to be a balance. You can't just have everything. You've got to earn it. So did he try and give you odd jobs and a few carrots to dangle to kind of shake that out of you?
See, I wish he did, but he never did. My parents never did that. They never incentivized anything. They never told me to like earn anything. They kind of said like, we'll give you what you deserve, and that's it. And they never made me work for anything. So that didn't work out too well for me initially. But growing up, we lived a lavish life, and my dad was kind of he achieved a lot, and he became like one of the youngest like sales directors in the area, and so we were living good. And then all of a sudden he lost his job. The CFO did some shady shit in his company, and he lost his job. And so then like everything came crashing down, because you think like, what's wrong with like, someone losing their job, but when you're in Dubai, it's super super cutthroat. Everyone wants to be there. It's like super desirable, and he was so comfortable, that when he fell, I guess, like, or fell, he didn't want to put in the work to get back up. And I think that was a big issue, and it caused him to never bounce back. And so he never bounced back. And then I was stuck there. And obviously, like, again, talking a little bit selfish, obviously my parents, have sacrificed a lot to give me a good life, but it was me there, used to having a good life, used to going to all these like nice hotels and restaurants, and now we don't have any money. And we're in an area where it's like, if you think like California is expensive, I'm not saying that like Dubai is more expensive, but everything requires money. And so all of your friends are going to the hotels, all of your friends are going out, all of your friends are going to the movies, whatever. And you're just stuck there. So I was only like 9 or 10 when that happened, and it really took a
So
toll.
you got a taste of the high life, really, and then it got snatched away.
It got
and
snatched.
So suddenly had everything, and then you've got nothing. So talk me about those experiences, because obviously that makes a big impact on someone who's 9 years old, right? Yeah. They don't know the where's the ways of the world. And like you said, that you would pick up 5 toys or whatever, and then literally throw your toys out the pen.
Yeah. Now I didn't have anything like at all. And, I used to go to the movies every weekend, and my mom's like, okay, you can't go to the movies anymore. We don't have money. And so the problem wasn't like, if you think about it objectively, and now I always tell myself that, like, no matter where I am in my life right now, like, I got a roof under my head, I'm eating good, I live good, like, life is good, I have all my limbs. And, but back then you're a kid and you're stuck, and all of your friends, so all of my friends, parents had nicer cars, and all of them had nice phones. And I didn't get my first phone till I was like 13 or 14, my first cell phone. All my friends like got it like when they were 12. So again, nothing significant, but it's just like, imagine always feeling lesser, and not just feeling lesser. Like, maybe here in America it's a lot better. I don't know how it is where you are, but over there it's so like classist and materialist that you're always being judged. Like, wow, you don't have a cell phone. Wow, you don't have like this. Wow, your parents' cars suck. Wow, you can't afford to go here. You can't. And so it kind of took a toll. You always feeling like you're like the less person. And if it's always like hiding, like, how can I lie to everyone so it doesn't seem like I'm poor? And I say, oh, like, I can't go out because like I'm going to play soccer tomorrow morning. I can't go out because I'm going to church in the morning, and I was always coming up with these excuses. Because, and obviously, like, if you think about it, 9 years old, okay, it becomes 12, 13, and now 14, 15, we're starting to talk to girls. And you see, like obviously, like, I'm not saying like girls are materialistic or anything, but the girls are like talking to everyone, and they're like, oh, like, come to the like Hiltonia or whatever. And you're like, oh, like, I can't, because this. And you're just so insecure because like all these girls are gonna think you're poor or like less than the other guys. And so it took a toll, and when you're younger, like when I was younger, I didn't have the same mental capacity. Like right now, like, if you take everything away from me, I'm good, I'm happy, I have everything I need. But back then, I didn't have that, like, to say, the gratitude, to say this is enough. It's always like I'm looking around at my friends, I'm like, why is this happening to me? Like, why is my life like this? And that's, I think, a big part of like where I try and compensate now. And then also,
this is where you've got this massive drive today, probably, isn't it?
100%.
Because you think back then, like, I would say you're relentless, you're obsessed with getting it right. You're very disciplined from our previous conversation. We'll get into that in the show, but then that actually could be a good thing today. Could you imagine? There's a lot of times when someone comes back, like, I come from not so humble, like, I come from very much humble beginnings, right? and so there's upgraded mindsets and stuff like that. And we went in and out where there was a period where we lived good, and then it all got taken away again. So you got a taste of it and it was gone again. And I think you had a long taste of it and then it went. And then so that's very disruptive, because you're so used to this one way of doing things. And then you look around you and it's almost like you've been moved down a class. Not that there should be classes in society, but it's just like you've been down regulated into the second or the third division of the soccer or football league, as we call it. But it becomes very hard to then, I suppose, you get a bit despondent, and you're like, well, why me? And it's difficult at that age, because what do you do? So that kind of covers off some of your childhood. Look, what about at school? Were you into school, or I always ask this question.
So I was blessed, and I'm not gonna lie, I was very good at school. I was smart. I graduated with very good grades, got into all the top Ivy League schools. And I'll talk about a little bit about that later. But even in college, graduated top of my class. So I can't say that I wasn't smart in school. I was definitely smart, but it just naturally came to me that I was a little bit smarter in school. I was just a better test taker. I didn't stress on when I was taking tests. Also very resourceful. So I was not afraid to like go and ask, if I was like in 7th grade, go ask 8th graders, hey, like, how are the tests? Can you show me your old tests? Stuff like that. So I was kind of resourceful like that. In school, it was good. And I was kind of like not like a popular kid up until 9th grade. And 9th grade is like when I started realizing that the, popular kids were causing a lot of trouble. So I just became a troublemaker, and I became like a really big troublemaker up until the point I became the most famous troublemaker in school. And then from there, I was like, okay, now everyone knows me, so I can stop making trouble. And kind of like at that point in 9th grade, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, I was pretty much like super popular in high school, and it was all good. But up until like 9th grade, again, because when I was 9 years old, everything happened, and I did not want anyone to know me, because I just felt like there's more risk of people finding out the truth, which is I have like nothing. And so that was kind of like always like a deep rooted fear. And so, in 9th grade, after I was like, okay, like, let me make trouble so I can kind of get famous. And I did. And then I was like, okay, now that I have that street cred, I don't need to worry about anyone like thinking like, oh, Mina might not have anything. It's because like I already have a reputation, so I'm all set. So that's kind of the way that I went. And the only reason I never got expelled is because I was so smart in school, and I had like really high grades. And they bring me in, they're like, dude, like, you have like super high grades, like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, I would just like kind of not have an answer, but obviously deep down I know the answer is like, I want it to be like known, I want it to be kind of like recognized.
I mean, the going back to the entitled thing is that it may have been the best medicine you could have had for today. If you look back through history, I don't know the exact data on it, but you've got a situation where a lot of successful people have self-made because they've got a thing to prove. But then their children don't always, there's normally a small proportion of the children that go on to do really well or exceed that parent because they've had that pampered lifestyle. So in some cases, because you had so much to prove, you had a taste of it and it went, was where you may have got your drive today. Because there's a lot of young, people, their children, because they haven't had the struggle, they haven't had the hardships, they don't know what it's like to be kicked out of an apartment and go without food or anything like that. They've never seen that. Once they leave school or education, they're entitled, but they don't have the same drive because they've got nothing to prove, and it always goes back to mummy and daddy, can I get a bailout, please? So it's very, so sometimes your childhood plays a massive role of your success today. So you said you excelled in school and stuff. Before we get into the business stuff, did you go into university? So you left your high school and stuff. And what did you take?
So graduated at high school. So I applied to all the different universities because back then the path when you were like in Dubai was you graduate, you go to an international college. So US, Canada, UK, Australia, one of the four. You get a good education there. Then you get some work experience there. and then come back and
Mm.
hopefully with like a citizenship or whatever in that country, with the education, with the experience, and you'll get paid like 2 to 3 times as much as like just a regular like person from the Middle East.
Yeah.
And so that was the path, right? I was like, okay, I applied to all the top schools, got accepted into everything. The top ones in Canada, top ones in the US. I don't remember like London, Australia, but I also got accepted there. But I don't know, I just felt like the UK and Australia was too foreign for me. And so I picked Canada because it just I didn't know, like, is US or Canada better, but I had a few friends in Canada, and I was studying chemical engineering in the university. So it had the third best. University of Toronto had the third best chemical engineering program in the world, and I said, okay, it's as good as it gets. I have some friends there, I'm gonna go there. And I went and I applied. Like, I went to and I applied for the visa, and then they kind of rejected me, and they didn't say why. They said, I think the only thing is that they said, we don't believe that when you go there, you're gonna come back. And I'm like, okay. My entire like life plan just completely shattered, and I was walking home, like literally like holding the paper in my hand, like the rejection. And this was like an 8-week process where every week I was going to the embassy, and my friends were there, and one guy would get the approval, next guy would get the visa, the next guy would get the visa, and I was just there until I was the last person there, like 8 weeks later. And then they gave me the rejection letter, and I look, and I'm like walking home, almost got hit by a car, because I'm just like, my whole life is like, my whole life is like, what's gonna happen now? I didn't know. And so that all goes to, then I ended up going to just spending 1 semester in Dubai. Technically in Sharjah, which is like the next city over, at a university. And then I was desperate, so I hit up the University of New Haven, because they had like come to our school and like recruited me a little bit. And I said, hey, can I like transfer? And they said, yeah, you know what, you don't even have to apply. And all these other Ivy League schools said, no, like reapply in 1 year. We don't accept transfer credits. So pretty much like you're going to lose a full year if we accept you to come next year. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to take you. Back then, when you're that young, you think 1 year is a very long time. And I'm like, absolutely not. I can't waste a year of my life. And also under that is like, dude, everyone's going to think I'm a failure. Like, everyone's going to think, who's this, guy that's like 1 year later than everyone. And so because of the combination of that, I'm like, okay, Connecticut, wow, like this is an incredible, like this is fate from God, that like everything aligned. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to go apply for the visa. Applied for the US visa, got it in 3 days. So that's why, like, okay, the stars are aligning. I definitely, like, this is my thing. Obviously, I was young. I didn't do enough research about the different universities or places. I could have probably replicated all this, but like maybe in California or in Texas, or somewhere like where I would have had like, but I'm grateful for everything that happened, because I'm here now. So anyways, then I ended up going to Connecticut.
Cool. And how was that?
That sucked. I studied chemical engineering and chemistry in college, and I graduated top of my class, but it was pretty much like a 4-year party. Not that it was a party school or anything, but it was cold, and there was nothing to do there. So everyone did was drink, and go out and like, just like go to house parties and things like that. So it's not a good state. I lived there for 9 years. Wouldn't recommend it. But there's nothing good about it, and everything is the same. Everything is plain. It's super cold, and I never was a believer of seasonal depression, but eventually, like, it got me. Like, I was getting seasonal depression.
Well, thank fuck he didn't come to the UK, because you'd have been miserable.
Yeah. You have to kind of be born and raised into it for you to, be okay with it. But for me, it was like coming from sunny, like 90s year round to this, where it's like 9 months out of the year it's cold or rainy, and maybe you get like 30 or 40 sunny days a year. I couldn't deal with it anymore.
Yeah, no. And so where do we go from here? So you've done your chemical engineering, you graduated top of the class. We'll get into the MMA stuff, because I think this is very interesting when you tie it on with health and entrepreneurship as well, because they go hand in hand for energy, discipline, and everything else. When did you start doing MMA stuff?
MMA, I started when I was 20. So I believe it's 2013. Yeah,
Mm,
it was in 2013 I started. And basically my, I've always been to like Kung Fu and that kind of stuff. And, Jean-Claude Van Damme. And so my friend hits me up and he's like, dude, I just joined an MMA gym. Yeah, I think that like you're going to like it. And I'm like, really? Okay, sure. Like, I want to join too. And he was in Texas. So I Googled whatever MMA gym was near me, and I found like a Henzo Gracie one,
mm,
which is like a famous gym 1 mile down the road. So I said, okay. I called them. I said, can I come in? And they're like, yeah, come in. Came
mm,
in. They said, try a class. And so I tried the wrestling class, and it was grueling, but it felt amazing after.
mm.
And I was like, dude, this is pretty sick. And so I got out. They're like, what do you think? I'm like, I want to sign up. They're like, how long? A year? I said, yeah, sign me up for a year. Signed up for a year, and it was like way more expensive than a regular gym. So regular gyms are like 20-30 dollars a month, and this one was 120 a month. But I was like, you know what, like I want to try something like different. So I kind of went into it, and it was the best move I ever made in my life.
So
Like,
it kept
and
you out the bars and stuff because you're more disciplined. You feel good because you're exercising. So you're focusing on that. So have you had many fights or anything? Did you go
yeah.
amateur fights or go pro
Yeah,
or
yeah.
anything?
So four, about four or five. They were all like no non-commission.
Gym
Like,
shows.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I did like maybe like 15 or 16 jiu-jitsu tournaments.
Mm.
So yeah, I've been pretty active about it. And then only like very very recently, like in the last 3 years, is when I kind of really got into like wanting to fight and compete. I was always doing like jiu-jitsu tournaments, but really like what it taught me was so much.
What
And
was the so much? What did it teach you?
a lot of it was accountability. So
Mm.
and I don't know if you so my last coach was Nick Newell. He's like an MMA fighter. He's got one arm. And so he came in, and like obviously he's like a guy where everyone's like, there's no way that a guy with one arm can beat me, right? But like this, he's like insane. And his mindset was which he like passed on to me, which is like always being self accountable. And he'd always come in and be like, if you lose the fight, it's on you. Why are you not coming in every day to the gym? Why are you not eating right? Why are you not like watching tape? Why are you watching TV, not watching tape? It was always like he would teach you accountability. He would say no excuses. There's never excuses. He says, you only fail when you quit. And so it was a lot of these things like just translated into my entire life. So the always being accountable. Remember I said like, why is life doing this to me? That's a victim mentality, and that's one thing that I had to really like get out of for me to ever like succeed in life. It was like I always thought, and we'll go back to like after graduating. I always thought,
Yeah,
like,
we'll go back there in a minute. I just want to
yeah.
finish this part of the story and then we'll go back to postgraduate. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was all like, why did I get this job? Why is my boss like this? Why am I being paid so little? This, and like it was just constantly like thinking that life was giving me these things, but life is not giving you anything. Like life is just happening. You're like everything around you is like the sum of the decisions that you're making. And so it taught me that, and being fully accountable and not like blaming life or someone else or my parents or anything, because it's
Yeah.
like, if other people have done it, I can do it too. And
Well,
it completely
it comes back to entitlement, doesn't it? You
yeah,
feel
yeah.
entitled. Why me? Why this? Yeah. So yeah, you're the victim card. Yeah.
Yeah, removing all like excuses out of my life. There's really no excuse at all. And like it's been shown by so many other examples of people accomplishing so many things that there is no excuse for you not to do anything. And then again, like like consistently being relentless and going after what you want. And I think one of the things that it really taught me, especially jiu-jitsu, was like being calm under pressure. Because if you think about it, every single day you go in there and you're just like pretty much there's people who are better than you that are choking you out. And so initially, like when you're like scrambling and you're like fighting for your life, but then you start really slowing down. And so now a lot of people are like, man, like all this stuff is happening. Like, why aren't you like stressed out or anything? And I'm like, dude, I'm just used to like getting choked every single day and
Well,
not
this is
stressing
it.
out
People don't
about it.
realize, you see these armchair boxing fanatics and stuff, like, until you've been in the ring and get punched in the face, you don't know what it's about, right?
Yeah.
So, and it takes a lot of bravery to go through the ropes, but no one sees that. They see it from the outside and said, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of willpower and nerve to get into a ring. And so you have to show that, whether at amateur level or professional. It takes a certain type of man or woman to get in that
and
ring,
honestly,
regardless of what the discipline is. In terms of you, I used to do boxing, but yours, obviously, you're doing MMA. Doesn't matter. It's still a fight. You still got
and I'm sure you remember that when you go in there, like especially the first few ones, you get the full adrenaline dump, and now everything is slow motion.
And your legs go. Yeah.
Your legs go, your arms go, and you're like, why am I moving so much slower? Why? And then it
nervous
just
energy. Your nervous energy has just burnt you out.
Yep.
Because you're so nervous, and that's why you got to stay calm. And so your legs go, your arms go, and then suddenly round 2 or round 3, when you're behind on points, or if you haven't had your ass kicked already, you've got a lot. You got a lot to pick up on in terms of getting back in the game. But
100%. Yeah.
So that's why I asked you about that, because of your relentless nature. I think because that is part of it, is because of doing a mixed martial arts or fighting. We'll do that. It's the discipline. Plus, it helps you learn respect. Like in the UK, boxing is, it's a working class. It's blue collar. And so it took a lot of kids off the street, gave them discipline, because why would they get in trouble all the time? Is because they're bored. They're burning energy, or they need to burn on energy, and they had a lack of respect as well. And there's nothing quite like going into the boxing ring when you're sparring and you just learn.
You get punched in the face, and then
I got beaten, but I kept going back, and then eventually I got better. But if you're weak-minded, you will just bow out. You go, right, this isn't for me. But you've got to go back and face your demons. And I think what happens is then you take a step up. You learn about respect of others, because a lot of people, they don't just go around learning like idiots will, but they don't go and learn boxing or martial art to go and fight on the street. That's what stops them fighting on the street and getting into trouble, is the discipline of that, because it's taught in such a way the person on the street isn't equipped with those skills, right? Generally. And so they shouldn't be operate, because I don't know if it still stands, but you can still be, if you've got a license or known for doing what you've done and you've got a background, that's still treated like a fight with someone who's got the skill. It's like GBH in some cases, because that your skill set becomes a weapon over the other person, So, but no, I'm going off track now, but it's just really important to think, when you see a lot of people that train and they get that focus in, that really does help with business, your energy,
100%.
your well-being, endorphin rush and everything that you get from the training. You want to get on, you want to do things. It creates like momentum, more forward motion. Let's go back. You leave uni.
Yeah.
So top
So
your class. Where's next?
again, thinking that life was giving me bad cards, I got my first job as a chemical safety consultant for only 35,000 a year, and usually 60,000 was kind of like the average that a chemical engineer, especially someone who already like has gone through internships and graduated top of the class. That's what I thought I was going to get paid, but then I was like, why is life giving me this job that's like so low paid? And it was the only offer that I ever got. But when we go back in time, actually, it wasn't that life was giving it to me. I didn't even apply, hard enough. What I was doing is I had my resume and I was just going on and clicking submit. And I'm like, really? Like that's, you thought that effort was going to get you like a really good job? Like thinking back, I'm just like laughing at how could you think that, you're being treated unfairly by life when like you barely did the bare minimum. You just went online and you didn't network, you didn't contact, jobs, you didn't go hunting, you didn't do your research, nothing. And so I was like, man, I just got like a bad card. And now I'm in this 35,000 a year job, two monitors, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I drive, work for 9 hours, for 8 hours on the computer, go home.
Tell me about your soul there.
And I thought like, I thought things were bad. I was a pizza boy at one point, just to kind of pay the bills before that. But, when I got this job, I thought that like being, I was like, man, like being a pizza boy sucks and you have to like go and drive around. Dude, sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours, not doing anything that engages the mind sucks even more, because even though I was a chemical safety consultant, we all have all of the chemical safety like statements and hazards and everything in a full like database. All I had to do was keep pulling them out and putting them on a sheet, and customizing it to whoever the client is, and call
So
it
it's
a
data
day.
entry. It's like glorified data entry.
Yeah, it was glorified. Like, you needed to be a little bit smarter to do it, but it was data entry, at the end of the day. And so I was dying, and by year. And so I stayed in there. Now again, circling back to the whole like plan that I had to
Mhm.
get like my citizenship. So they said, we're gonna apply for your work visa, and I was like, okay, amazing. So I got to stay to this place. And then they kind of said, we're gonna apply, and we're also gonna try and get you your green card. And I was like, That's it, that's my ticket." That's like the goal. Because before having, like, if I didn't have a green card or citizenship, at any point in time I can get kicked out, and I have a certain number of years before I gotta leave. And after engineering, you get 3. After your bachelor's, you get 3, and then after your master's, you get 3. So I obviously fully utilized the 3, and then the 2 years master's, and then the other 3. So that's 8 years total. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick at this job because they're gonna do that. And then my work visa got rejected because it's a lottery. Not got rejected, it's a lottery system. 250,000 people applied. They picked 60,000. I'm like, man, why am I being dished these bad cards? And thinking back, now I know, if I had done enough research, because I was in such a specialty job, because it's like chemical safety and not a lot of people have it, I could have applied for the green card right away. They just had it to prove that they couldn't find someone who had my qualifications that could do what I'm doing, which was very easy in that industry, because they already like trained me and certified me. And so again, going back to it's like me thinking it was life giving me lemons, and on the other side, it's actually just me making all the wrong decisions. And so worked at that job, and then left that job after like the work visa thing didn't work out. Went to another job temporarily. It was a project manager for ceilings, heated and cooled ceilings. And that was just temporary because I was trying to apply into the Air Force, because there was a certain program, if you get into the Air Force, you become a citizen right away. And so was trying to apply for that, and everything was good. I saw a friend on Facebook did it, and I talked to him about it, and it works and everything. And then Trump shut it down. And so again, got stuck at that job. That job wasn't too bad because I was working with a friend and it was fun. And, it was like one of those jobs where we're right across from a brewery. And so that kind of shined the light and said, hey, maybe project management is more for me, because I'm more like the human communication and the stimulation of the mind, versus like just doing stuff. Like, just because I got my chemical engineering degree doesn't mean that I really have to, work in in chemical stuff. So I was like, cool. Did that for a while, and then company shut down again. CFO did some shady stuff, and so I ended up again not applying hard enough. But I found a job. It was a project manager in construction. Got that job, and then I interviewed, and she's like, okay, what do you want? Like in terms of like salary. And I said, okay, I want this much salary, this much vacation time, this much this. And she said, okay, I'll give you everything. And I was like, wow, man, like I lucked out again. So started working at that job, and it was a good job because it was in construction, a brand new thing that I didn't know anything about. And I started from the bottom, and I moved up to like managing approximately $12 million in projects. And so I started feeling like, okay, wow, like I'm doing something different. But it was slowly like getting more and more apparent that they wanted more of a like a seat warmer than like they were going to compensate me based on like just me sitting on the chair and being in the office, versus me like killing it and outperforming. And I was outperforming everyone there. And like people were always coming to me like with questions and, can you do this for me? And I was the only tech savvy person there. And so, it got to a point where I was like, okay, they're not looking for a person like me. They were very old school. They said like, our way's been working for 20 years. We don't want to change it, that kind of stuff. And then that was around when I started my business. And it was
what year we at now? So just so we've got a bit of a timeline.
So the first job was 2014 to 2016. Out of college at 2014, 2016 is when I left that first one. 2016 to 2017 is when I worked the second one, and then 2017 to 2019 is when I worked the third one. And so now we're at the end of 2018. Summer of 2018, and that's when I was in Egypt, and that's where like the whole business thing started. So I was on vacation at that job, the construction management job. I was on vacation for 3 weeks in Egypt, and I was sitting at a cafe, scrolling on my phone, looking for like protein and stuff. And my dad's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Just looking for some protein. There's nothing out there that I really like. I'm trying to find like the closest best one." And he's like, "Why don't you make an app for like supplements and stuff like that?" And I'm like, he's always coming up with these like business ideas, and you don't want to say anything like, "Dude, like, what are you talking about?" But I'm like, "I don't know anything about apps." And he's like, "Why don't you make your own protein powder then?" And then like something like, I don't know why, but I was like, you know what, maybe it's possible. Like I already like buy like pre-workouts and stuff, and then put creatine in it and put glutamine in it, and like I do my own like concoctions. And eventually I started just buying in bulk because pre-workout was so expensive. For 30 servings I would just buy the actual effective ingredients in bulk and like mix it, which wasn't really a good idea because it tasted horrible. But it was like I was like kind of like broke, like trying to like make the best bang for the buck. So I was like, let me look into it. And I looked into it and I was like, okay, let's assume that I made this formula, and I did the clinical research and looked at the clinical studies, came up with the formula, and then said, okay, how much is the ingredients going to cost? Looked at the ingredients, called a friend and said, how hard is it to register an LLC? He said, oh, it's only like $450 on LegalZoom. I said, oh, that's pretty easy. Looked into all that stuff, talked to a designer, said, how much will it cost? And the whole thing like wasn't much. Like it came out to like maybe like $5, and it was selling on Amazon for 25. And I was like, dude, like if I can buy it for $5 and sell it for 25, like that's insane amounts of profit. And I was like looking at, I was looking at like all these people, and I didn't even have any of the tools that tell you how much revenue they're making, but it looked like it was going to be a good idea. And I was not into Amazon at all at that point.
And you manufactured everything US, right? You weren't shipping in elsewhere. You were doing local packaging and everything in the US.
Everything was US. So
yeah.
I got back from vacation, and I was like, okay, let's get into this. And I ordered all the samples, and then October 10th. So this was September 2018. October 10th, 2018 is when I like registered the company. And so now I had an LLC. I had the samples, and then I posted on Facebook. You're like happy you started a business. I posted on Facebook, and then a guy said, hey man, I have an MMA event coming up soon. I'll get you a table and a booth there for free. Like just bring a banner and some samples. I was like, okay. Now I have like less than a month, like 3 weeks to get this thing done. So in 3 weeks, worked on a Square website, got like a little like catalog website done, got the samples, got the logo and everything. This is the logo, but I'm changing it now. Everything is Hydrolyte, but I got the logo, got everything done, and bought the bags, bought stickers, bought scoopers, all from Amazon. The stickers were from like a print shop right next to my work, and packed it, got a banner from Vistaprint, and went there. And I made 40, and I said, 40 should be enough, right? And I sold 25. And like not just like giving them out, like I had a little jug that I put unflavored Hydrolyte in it, and then I put some Mio water to make it taste good, and I said that it's a flavor that's coming soon. And then I pretty much sold 25, and they were like, where can I find this? Where can I buy this? And I'm like, damn, I didn't even think that far. I was like, I don't know where I'm going to sell it. I thought I was just going to sell it in my gym or like, a bunch of gyms. I didn't know anything. And so I said, it's going to be on Amazon soon. And that was like the start of my Amazon journey, is when I lied to everyone and said that it's going to be on Amazon soon. And now I have to, kind of
get on Amazon. Amazon. And this is 2018. So you're not like started back when I started and others started, what we called the gold rush. 14, 15 was, so you came in quite late to Amazon.
Yeah.
But you've accelerated and grown big now, though, haven't you?
Yeah,
relatively big. So let's walk through that timeline. 2018, you registered for Amazon. Where do we go from there?
Okay, so 2018, register for Amazon. I call up Seller Central and I said, "Hey, I want to sell my supplement on like the website. Like, how do I do it?" And they sent me like emails and instructions, and I walked through it. And they said, "We need an invoice." So I contact some manufacturers, get an invoice from them, even though I never used them. And then they said, "We need a certificate of analysis." Got the certificate of analysis from them, and then I applied, and they said, "Okay, you're accepted, you're ungated, you're good to go." And I was like, "Really? Like, that's it?" So I was like, "All right." And the raw ingredients that I had bought to make the 40 samples, I contacted the guy. I said, "Hey, do you do bulk, like, do you do custom blends?" He said, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, here's my formula. How much would you do it for?" And he's like, "I'll do it for 5." And I was like, holy, like, that's the exact same as if I did it at home. If, like, because I was thinking I was going to do it at home and hire like one of my friends for like 12 an hour, because I'm at work, right? I can't do it. But I was going to hire someone for like 12 an hour. It probably take them 3 or 4 hours to do a batch like of a 100, 200, whatever. So I was going to hire someone to mix it at home, but this guy's numbers came really good, and I was like, okay, like, let's do 100. Did 100. Again, like, watched all the Amazon tutorials, figured it out, like how to do a shipping plan and stuff like that, and then set the stuff. But I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to make this stuff sell on Amazon. And so went down the little like YouTube Amazon rabbit hole. That's where I found Samer Brax's videos. Started watching those, watching like Derek struggle. This is like way back, like when Derek struggle's videos were ranking high, and I just watched, like, consumed content like insane. Got into like 5 different Facebook groups, and then I hit up a friend who already had Amazing Selling Machine, and but never did anything. And so watched Amazing Selling Machine. I was like, okay, yeah, and I was already selling, but after, like, I watched the course after I was already selling. I was like, okay, I kind of can get a hang of this, and realized that PPC really was the main driver here. PPC and reviews. My price was the lowest, and my whole branding, it all revolves around, like, I'm an athlete, and I understand where athletes are coming from. So I want to create the best supplements with quality ingredients, no fillers, no bullshit, for the best, like, most economic price. Like, there's no need for me to make crazy profits and then harm, like, people like me who are actually buying the supplements. So I said, I'm changing the game. And there has been a little bit of a positive trend in the supplement industry, but it's still very, very sleazy, and a lot of like cheating and using proprietary blends to get away with stuff. So anyways, I was like, I got to figure out this PPC. And so I was just dumping crazy money into PPC. I think my first or my third or fourth day, I was doing $100 a day in PPC, and then 200 a day. And it just, like, it was escalating. And,
But were you making sales though? Were you scaling,
Yeah.
or was it just escalating
No,
instead?
no, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was making sales, and I remember, I think on my 5th day, I always tell this story because I remember it so vividly. But I was in LA Fitness, and I'd done like a 5 a.m. swim, and so I was done with my swim, and it was 6 a.m. and I was looking at my phone, and yesterday's sales was like 10 units, and it was like 5 days in, and I'm like, how on earth did 10 ran? And I looked at the orders, and it was like random people from Kansas, Ohio, like Oklahoma. I was like, man, random people, like, they're definitely not my friends. They're not friends of friends. Like, no one's, it's not anyone supporting me. I'm like, random people are buying my stuff, and it was crazy. But I sold 10 units, which is like approximately maybe $100 in profit, but I also spent $100 in PPC.
Yeah.
So for the first month or so, whatever my initial investment is, I only got that initial investment back. I didn't make any profit because it was all going on PPC. The first order was 100, second order was 400, third order was like 800, and then I was like now in the 1,000 a month, 2,000 a month range. And so very, very quickly, I was selling, made some mistakes. So my first 100 units, I didn't have any inspection or anything done on them. And literally, like, you can drop the bag from like 1 meter high, 3 feet high, and it would fall and like
Explode.
explode. And so, obviously Amazon is not really like taking nice care. It's not a fragile product. So they were just putting it in the mailer and like throwing it on the truck, and everyone was hitting me up on Amazon, like, this came exploded. So I was able to get Amazon to compensate me for a like a decent amount, because I said, yo, you damaged this during shipping. And I sent them like images of the product at my manufacturer's facility. I said, look, these are packed like perfectly. You guys broke them, and so I got some money back from that. But I did get a lot of like returns. No 1-star reviews though, thankfully. And so from then I learned, okay, you need to have good materials and better inspection. So sourced better bags. Set up like a whole inspection, quality control procedure. But this is in the US, right? So I actually sent the guy instructions, and I told him, video yourself dropping the bag, measuring the bag, taking a scoop from a random bag and like mixing it in water. And so it was like weird because I couldn't go there. He was in Maryland and I was in Connecticut, which is a 5-hour drive. So I wasn't gonna, my batches were too small for me. Like if I was doing, 3-month batches, yeah, I take the drive, test it myself, and then come back. But I was doing like two-week batches, because I was bootstrapping everything. And from there, I think one of the biggest things I think that affected me was it started snowing. I was at work. It was like 11, 12, regular cold day. Snow started to come down, and I had like a window, and you can look out the window, see like, a little bit, it's just about to start. And I'm like, you know what, guys? And my boss was like the kind of like, oh, you're like leaving early, type person. But I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to risk it. It's starting to snow and I don't want to get caught. I have a 45-minute commute home. And so I leave. And as I'm driving, it starts going like heavier and heavier. And before I know it, all the like roads are white. And I'm driving and I'm literally going 10 miles an hour, but it's windy roads, back roads to get home because the office was in the middle of nowhere to save money. And, I was going 10 miles an hour. So that's like 15 kilometers an hour. Slid, the car just started sliding, like gliding. And then I hit the guardrail. So obviously nothing happened, but my bumper broke, my headlights broke, and the car kind of got like messed up. So I had to like take it to a mechanic to kind of pull the stuff out so the wheel can drive. So I was able to like drive home. I drove home, and then I called or I texted my boss. I said, hey, I was just in a crash, in the snow. I'm just going to be a little bit late to work until the mechanic fixes the car. And then she says, are you okay? I said, yeah. She said, okay, it's coming out of your personal time. And that was like,
that was the big fuck you, wasn't it?
That was it. That was like, I'm done. Like that was, I said, by June. So I started the business in November. November 22nd is 2018 is when I was live on Amazon. I said, May 31st, 2019, I am quitting my job. Like no matter what, I'm quitting my job. And so that was kind of like the straw that broke the horse's back for me. And I said, these people don't appreciate me. They don't value me. Like I'm a slave. Like I am a slave. And at that point I was reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, like this all clicks. Like, like being in a 9-to-5 is pretty much like you're a hamster on a hamster wheel. And from there, I said, I need like whatever I can do to get to the point, which is to quit my job in however many months. I think this happened in January, so it was going to like 5 months. I said, whatever it was going to take, I needed to do. And so this was, again, like a coincidence out of nowhere. But my friend Kayla, her sister, manages like I think like a 12 million a year account. She does like she manages like CPG brands for a huge investor. Like it's a massive company. They have Walmart, Jet, like all this stuff. So she's just an employee. And Kayla hits me up and she's like, hey, I heard like you're doing Amazon stuff. My sister's in the Amazon stuff too. And obviously no one like outside of our community really understands like selling on Amazon. And so I said, oh, amazing. Like, let me talk to her. And so I talked to her and I was like, so like, what do your like campaigns look like? And she sent me a screenshot of her like thing of her like campaign manager. And it was like, 1.2 million in sales and like 6% ACOS. And I was like, oh my God, like I need to like take advantage of this person. So I drove down and I said, I'll buy you dinner. Like, let's have a conversation. So I drove down, bought her dinner, and I just like kept asking her, and she didn't really know like that much more than I did. And it was kind of like, yeah, man, I was hoping like I was going to get like, she gave me like a couple good things here and there. But one thing she said was, I'm not an expert, but if you want to meet a bunch of experts, there, I don't know if you've heard of Tenuity, but she said Tenuity is having a conference in New York City. I recommend that you go. And I looked, and the early bird pricing was $300, and I was like, man, $300 is a lot of money. But I was still in like back in that old like employee mindset. I was like, you know what? But this is an investment. Like, let's do it. And so I took that day off work, went to the city, and spent like 3 days at that conference. And I think that was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because the people there, they were not like from this Amazon community. Like our Amazon community is like a certain type of community. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. This was like all like CPG, like Under Armour, Nike, Starkist Tuna was there. One Bar was there. Like massive brands. And like the people there, like they were consulting, like you were spending like 1 to 2 million a month in PPC spend. Like that's the kind of companies that were there. Multiple 8, 9 figure, some of them more. And so I was like, I need to take full advantage of this. And I started talking to every single consultant that was there. And I was like literally milking any information I can get from them. And after like spending the whole day, like people were like, man, you're like a serial networker. And they're like, I've never seen anything like this before, but you literally like go to someone and you just like wait. And the second you can talk to them, you have an hour conversation. I was like, dude, I have 5 months to quit my job. I need to know everything there is possible about Amazon. And so I got so much information, but it became very clear like that there was no silver bullet. And everyone is always looking for a silver bullet. And even myself, sometimes I catch myself like having these dreams like, man, like what if I got this guy who like really is good at Facebook ads and like my brand will fucking explode. And it's like, it's never going to happen. It's a silver bullet and they do not exist. And so I realized like one thing I also realized was these business owners, like I was talking to, CMO of like One Bar, and I'm like, man, he's not doing anything. He's not special and he's not doing anything special. He's like, these are just people that are consistent.
They're consistent everyday people. Yeah.
They're consistent. There's nothing special about them. And I would talk to one guy who's like, I think multiple 7 figures at the time. So for me, multiple 7 figures, like, wow, this guy's doing many millions a year. Like, wow. And, he was like yeah, like I sourced this product like from here, tested it, started selling it. It was doing good, but people wanted this more. And I got this. And his story was just like, he just like did it. And to me, that was one of the biggest, like, I believe in myself moments. And because I never believed in myself. And after that, I was like, you know what? I actually now believe in myself. And then I kept going to meetups in New York City. And eventually, like the peak was when I went to one hosted by Amazon at AWS. And there was like the PPC, like a PPC expert there and a listing expert there. And I talked to all of them, and I talked to the PPC expert, and I said, this is my strategy. And she's like, wow. She's like, you know pretty much as I do. And I was like, there's literally like nothing more you can tell me about PPC. And she's like, no, like that's it. It's just pay to play. Like she said, if you're capping out, go wider. And she's like, and one thing that's going to help people click on your listings more is if you have more reviews. And she's like, but I can't tell you like, how to get more reviews. And she kind of like hinted at like most ways like people are getting reviews nowadays is against terms of service. And so at that point I was like, okay, like there is nothing to it. Like I just need to put in the work. And from there, put in the work, aggressively got the reviews, aggressively like launched campaigns and optimized my PPC and all that kind of stuff. And then like things on Amazon, I would just say on Amazon, because obviously Amazon's one piece of the puzzle. Now I'm like building a really big brand, but that one piece of the puzzle, which is Amazon, which was bringing me the cash, that like started like moving significantly up. And so I think, so a funny story, but I never quit my job. I got fired a month earlier. So May 31st, I wanted to quit my job. And obviously what I was doing is I was working 2 hours in the morning and then spending 7 hours the rest of the day. Like I would get my work done, right? So I'm getting my job done. You can't say that I wasn't getting my job done, but I stopped going above and beyond for them. I was like, obviously everything I do 110%. So I was going 110% for them. So then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do the bare minimum, get my work done. So I would do the bare minimum, get my work done. And then I would spend 7 hours researching stuff on Amazon, like contacting people for reviews, like trying like different like Facebook strategies, whatever, like ads and stuff like that. And so then I think they kind of caught on, like, this guy doesn't give a fuck anymore, and they fired me April 31st. And at that point, I was doing about $5,000 a month in profit from Amazon, and so I was like, you know what, I'm good. I'm good. I can do this, and I'm glad that they kicked me out and I didn't have to quit, because I think having to quit was gonna be so scary, knowing that
Well, they took a choice out of your hand, so you had to make it work.
So I was like, all right, I had to make it work. And, at that point, that was April 31st at that point. And from there, I was like, okay, I'm sick and tired of Connecticut. I'm sick and tired of this. Like, I hate this place. I hate the weather. And that's when I booked some tickets. I booked one to Vegas, one to Miami, and one to California. And I was like, I'm going to check these places out. I'm not going to make the same move and think that all of America is the same, because that's when I came to Connecticut. I thought, hey, all of America is going to be the same, right? And so I went and like looked at these different places, and obviously when I landed in California, it was a home run. But,
it's game over. Yeah,
it was game over. But I wasn't at the point where I didn't feel like confident enough. So I said, let me downgrade for a bit. And so I said, I haven't seen my parents in a long time. I only see them for 2 or 3 weeks. So I downgraded and went and lived in Egypt in 2019 for 4 months. I did 3 months in Egypt, 1 month in Dubai. And in Egypt, my cost of living was $500 a month. And so I was making, $5,000 a month, only had to pay $500 a month in bills, plus like some student loans and stuff like that. And so I was able to reinvest a lot. And, another thing that I like realized when I was there is like, things were going well in the Amazon business, but I was like very like shiny object syndrome. I was like, you know what, I can diversify in Amazon.co.uk and the rest of like the EU and make more money. You know what, I can diversify in Canada. You know what, like I can sell in like stores and stuff like that. And so very shiny object syndrome, and obviously nothing was yielding a result. And I read a book called The One Thing. I don't know if you've read that one.
Yeah.
But at that moment, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just like look at what is making me money and then double down hard on it. And so that's when I doubled down on. I was like, Amazon's making me crazy money. Why am I even like thinking about all these things and diversify off Amazon? And Amazon might shut down your account. You know what, man? Like, if they shut down your account, just open a new account, pull your stock, send it back in, like do some black hat stuff. Who cares, And I was like, I'm not gonna struggle. Like, I'll do whatever it takes. And so then I doubled down on Amazon. And I think at that point, after doubling down, like my monthly revenue, like I think I grew like 68% in like 2 months. And I at that point I was like maybe doing only like, it wasn't crazy, it was only like 40,000 a month, but I was making about 10,000, 8 to 10,000 a month in profits. I was like, okay, now I'm confident. And then flew back to California, moved into a new place, and ever since I've been here, like it's just I like tripled, quadrupled the business size and opened up more businesses. And so but yeah, that kind of like summarizes my struggle.
Sounds good. I mean, we're going to wrap shortly now. I just want to ask you, we've got a couple of minutes to go until we hit the top of the hour. Money or legacy?
Money. Legacy is your ego.
Right. Okay. Fair enough question.
Yeah.
Nearly everyone on the show is gone for the other, but that doesn't matter. Everyone has their own opinion. How would you like to be remembered?
As the guy that helped the most amount of people. Like I want when I die, I want people to be like, man, I'm gonna miss this guy. Like, it was always fun having him around.
Yeah. Cool. How would you like people to contact you if they want to reach out to you?
Facebook, Mina, Elias. You can hit me up on Instagram at Egyptian_prescription_Elias. LinkedIn is fine. I don't check my LinkedIn as much, so Facebook, Instagram is the best.
Cool. Sounds good. Guys, don't forget to vote at sellerpoll.com, brought to you by Frasio. Just go to the website, 9 categories. I'm going to do a leaderboard next week of the current votes and the positions of where everything is. All closes on October 28th. This is me signing off for today. I'll be back here Monday. Enjoy the rest of the week. Look after your family. Take care, and I'll see you all soon.